No, this isn't an early 2000s prototype for Alone in the Dark. This is a fully released title called Dawn of Fear. Dawn of Fear is described as a pure survival horror where you have to solve puzzles in order to make improvements in the story. Which, yeah, I guess is pretty true. Dawn of Fear released in 2020 and is developed by Broken Sight, or Broke 3 Insight. I don't know, it's how it's spelled. When I decided to stream this game, I didn't have the bar set very high. The game looked like a school project with borrowed assets and was sitting with a whopping 33 mixed reviews on Steam. I watched the trailer and noticed they were advertising with PlayStation controls. So I anticipated using my PlayStation 4 controller when playing on PC to, I don't know, maybe help bring back the old days of playing Resident Evil on PlayStation. Purchased and installed, I booted up the game and prepared my survival horror brain for whatever was about to happen. What came next was some interesting menu music and an overly loud sound effect. Okay, cool. Also, my PlayStation controller wasn't working correctly. Some button inputs did nothing, and other inputs that worked were completely different commands. And the whole time I was trying to use this PlayStation controller, it was showing Xbox inputs. What the heck, guys? You literally advertised the game on Steam showing PlayStation inputs. It's why I chose the PlayStation controller. Anyways, I switched to my Xbox controller, which didn't actually work at all, so I then had to use Steam's forced controller inputs. Let's talk about the story first. Look, I'm gonna be honest, the story is pretty badly put together and really uninteresting. From what I gathered, our protagonist is named Alex and he is revisiting his old childhood home after the supposed death of his stepmother. The story unravels that missing employees and missing family members have turned into monsters and zombies. Fighting your way through the mansion, trying to find the ones you care for, it's discovered your stepmother is alive and a demon. Also, your blood is in fact what is needed to complete whatever ritual thing she was trying to do in the first place. I think it was for immortality, I don't know. The game tries to tell you with its stiff cinematics and found document reading, it just all really feels like an excuse to be running around a mansion and the story never really sticks. Also, the lack of voice actors really makes reading all these captions tough. Not that it needs a voice, but the captions don't even tell you who's talking. So almost every time you're reading a sentence or wall of text, you'll have to read it again, now knowing who said what. It's pretty annoying. A telephone rings. Who's this? Hi, Alex, it's Ethan. Hi, how is Jessica? Alex, I'm sorry. It's very hard to say this, but Jessica's dead. I don't even know who the fuck is talking. Let's talk about static camera angles for a second. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like static camera angles, but the 90s kid in me screams with joy from nostalgia. What the inner child didn't expect was to experience static camera angles done this badly. Yeah, the game seems to think angles that hide rooms or block your vision are perfectly fine. I at one point was literally running from about 8 zombies till I got trapped in an open prison cell because the camera angle simply wouldn't change. It wasn't fun. Also, whatever genius at Broke 3 Insight decided a game like this didn't need a map should be bitten by an infected zombie. You could argue it's to add difficulty, but it honestly just feels like laziness. If you happen to be looking for a specific room and going crazy trying to find it with no map, you're at the mercy of your memory and whatever camera angle is given to you. Here's an example. Tell me where the closet is in this room. Do you see it? How about now? You see it now? No? That's because it's right here, silly! This is a huge reason why the option of having a map is important. Just with the simple fact, not everything can be seen with some of these choice angles. So let's move on to combat. To sum it up, the combat is simple and terrible. It's simply terrible. Shooting enemies is very unsatisfying. Nothing seems like it's really hitting and the visual indications are unreliable. Sometimes shooting enemies won't have a blood splatter reaction. Even doing the good old gun knife combo I learned from Resident Evil would feel worrying because I was never completely sure I was hitting the downed enemy. Weapons feel as lethal as air till the enemy you're attacking finally stays down. The enemy types you're up against all feel like bad AI attempts at actual Resident Evil enemies. Like, I don't know about you, but tell me what you think. Licker? Hunter? You get what I mean. They also like to completely freeze in place when you leave, and be in the exact same spot when returning. Yeah, the enemies don't patrol or anything, they just like to stay right there. And yeah, boss fights, they were okay, but nothing special. For instance, you fight this one thing from the forest by stunning it in a specific spot and then damaging it in the face with a container. Then later, when you fight the housekeeper, you have to stun her in a specific spot and cause damage by using controlled fire. Yeah, it's nothing crazy. Did I also mention before 2 boss encounters? There's a 30-second ladder climb. You know. Unless I'm never coming back here, then that would kind of suck. I would have missed save, but I think we're good. I'm not even controlling it, you're just going automatic. Holy crap, dude. Is this a hidden loading screen? What's happening? Why is this game so dark?
What a thrill.
Dear God, we're there. Thanks, but you're no Kojima. The final boss is your stepmother, who has gone full demon mode. She likes to defend herself and send a mob of weak zombies at you. Once you just simply knife the zombies away, you can unload on Step Evil until she defends herself again by sending more zombies. The stepmother demon also has an AoE attack that you should avoid and throws these terrible fireballs that almost always do nothing when you're too close. Honestly, in my opinion, this boss took the least amount of strategy and was a major ammo eater, if anything. Overall, it only took a couple of tries and knife swipes to end this boss. Strats. Now it says stepmother. Wow, this whole time it never said who was talking, and now they did. Thanks. All right, so let's move on to puzzle and game mechanics. Yeah, they were pretty bland. Puzzles never felt challenging and seemed like not a lot of effort went into the design. The only puzzle I will give credit to was actually made to be weirdly super hard. See, you find this torn note that tells you what symbols translate to. Later, you need to play a piano in the same order as a saying on the neighboring wall. The saying has specific words highlighted in red. Those words connect back to the symbols we saw earlier on the torn note. So we need to play the piano in the right order of the symbols on that note. Very Moonlight Sonata. Unfortunately, for no reason, you can't pick up the note that has the reference of all the symbols and bring it to the room with the piano. Luckily, I was playing on Steam, so I just took a screenshot and used it for reference. There is also this save system where instead of something maybe like ink ribbons and a typewriter, you find and you light candles. Every time you light a candle that you found, you can't light it again. So you have to be careful when you choose to save. The mechanic, don't get me wrong, it's not terrible, but it has a few issues. Finding these things is kind of a nightmare at fault of the developer who wants to use the same candles as decorative pieces as well. Since the ones you can save look exactly the same without any shine, flicker, or visual indication, it's just a guessing game for the right one. Also, can we talk about the save info? Like, why does it decide to show the time you played and not also include the playtime? Why not both? Okay, so the health indicator. In a lot of games, you'll be given a visual cue on how badly hurt your character is. In Resident Evil and other survival horror games, the visual tends to be your character holding themselves or limping. If you want to, you can check the inventory and see what the actual condition is. In Dawn of Fear, they decided on something else. When you take damage, you almost always will still look fine. So how do you know how hurt you really are? Your journal. Yeah, your journal. Depending on how much blood is on this thing, it will indicate how hurt the character is. A lot of blood, and you're probably one hit away from death. The idea is something, but kind of hard to gauge when playing. Like, sometimes you can't even really tell you're actually hurt till you use a med kit and realize how clean the journal is supposed to look. On top of that, your character is almost never limping or showing any hurt status. I mean, randomly he will, but it seems pretty rare. So if you don't keep an eye on the journal, you're kind of screwed. It's also worth mentioning, if you try to read documents while you're too badly hurt, you can't because of all the blood. Okay, so let's go over the polish. This title looks and plays like an unfinished itch.io game that was put together with pre-made assets. The fact this developer thinks $14.99 is an acceptable price for the game is the real evil. The level design is put together in a way that would drive any sane person mad. Also, I swear at points, my character would look the size of a G.I. Joe when running around. Hallways, they're too wide, and set pieces become way too big due to the perspective change of the character. The animations looked like someone found an asset pack online, but decided, nah, and found some worse ones on Pirate Bay and used those instead. They're very clunky, and anything potentially horrifying looked like a stiff puppet. The game also has some very random unfinished moments. For example, when you go to fight the housekeeper, you go down the ladder, kill her by setting her on fire, then take a valve and head back up the ladder. But wait, how did this happen? See, we go down pretty far with this ladder and fight in this very underground area of valves and pipes. She even dies in this area, clearly. Yet, once she dies, the game cuts to us being in a whole different room. Also, the ladder? Yeah, takes like 5 seconds to climb back up. I have no idea why this happens, but I'm guessing this was a quickly put together room as a placeholder for finishing the boss fight that they forgot about, and when it was time to wrap up, they chose that this was gonna be the actual room, and there was no connection made. Here's my final thoughts. Dawn of Fear was advertised not only as a title on Steam, but also on PlayStation 4. But whatever platform was cursed with this horror, it didn't change the kind of low-effort garbage this game truly is. Exposing your love for survival horror games and charging about $13.99 more than it should be, the game rides the coattails of successful games in its genre to hope it can make a sale out of your wallet and love for better titles. From storytelling that would make Tommy Wiseau roll his eyes behind the sunglasses protecting our souls, to the low-effort level design and puzzle mechanics that spits in the face of actual thought and imagination. No voice acting, terrible static camera angles, unsatisfying combat, the evil list just continues. For a game that took so much inspiration from greater classics, why it lacks any of the good features and after-game unlockables, we may never know. The best thing this game did was remind me how much better cheaper games like Nightmare of Decay is, and the worst thing it did was try to convince me it was worth my time.